Using recipes is one of the best parts of shooting with a Fujifilm camera. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 must-try recipes. I'm going to give you photo examples, and I'm going to talk to you about when each recipe works best. Now, before we get into it, I do want to state, I didn't create any of the recipes in this video. Links to all the recipes with the creators will be in the description below. I also want to mention that I have a whole series of videos just like this one, so if you like this one, check out my Fujifilm recipe playlist on my channel. With that, let's get into it with number 1. Reggies Portra. Reggies Portra may be one of the most popular portrait recipes, and for good reason. This recipe has a very subtle color shift, so subtle that it's one of the most true-to-life recipes I've used. Now, I don't know if this recipe feels a lot like portrait to me, but regardless of the name, if you're looking for a recipe that does it all and can work in all situations, you should definitely load Reggies Portra into your camera. Reggie also has a really great YouTube channel filled with content about Fujifilm, photography, and videography. If you're interested in this type of content, you definitely need to check out his channel. Nightcrawler. Like every video in the series, I try to include a recipe designed for nighttime, and Nightcrawler from Captain Look is a fun one. As you can tell, these images are very stylized with a large skew to the green color palette. It helps give the image a bit of a sci-fi feel. I find using this recipe inspires me to get more creative with my colors when it comes to my photography. This isn't a recipe you're going to want to use all the time, but in the right situation, it can make your photos really stand out. Bouji Color Negative. This recipe is a good everyday recipe that offers a bit more of a muted color palette. I find it pulls down the greens and gives the blues a really nice tone. In city situations, this recipe can feel very moody and contrasty. In less urban areas, this recipe is a little less contrasty and offers a color palette that's sure to stand out. I've even been told by other people who have seen photos I've taken with this recipe that it's the most film-like look they've seen taken with the Fujifilm recipe. If you're looking for a recipe that stands out without a ton of saturation, I'd try this one. Ultra Velvia. Velvia is a super saturated base for a simulation. I often find I don't love recipes that use it, but Eddie nailed it with this one. The -3 color value helps bring down that crazy saturation Velvia has, leaving an image that pops but doesn't overdo it. I find this recipe also handles blue tones much better than the base Velvia simulation, which I never really liked. I always felt like the blues in the base Velvia simulation were a bit too strong. They don't feel oversaturated in this recipe due to the -5 blue setting. If you're looking for a recipe with punchy colors, choose Ultra Velvia. This isn't the first time I've talked about Eddie's recipes in this series. Eddie's also got a YouTube channel, so if you liked any of his recipes, you should check out his YouTube channel. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Bad ink. Like every video in the series, I try to include a black and white recipe. Bad ink may be one of my favorites so far. It's designed to have that classic newspaper feeling, and that feeling comes across in every photo you take with it. I really like how this recipe handles contrast. It feels like it always has the perfect amount where you aren't losing too much detail, but the image doesn't look flat. The monochromatic color settings in this recipe also gives it a very subtle blue tint. You don't really notice it, but it does go a long way in making the recipe feel a bit more special than your typical black and white photo. Any black and white photographers will really like this one. Out of the 5 recipes I mentioned in this video, which one are you going to put in your camera? Let me know in the comments below. I'm also always looking for new recipe suggestions, so if you have any, write them in the comments as well. If you do end up using any of these recipes, make sure to tag me as well as the creator of the recipe in the photo. I can't wait to see all the great stuff you shoot with them. For now, make sure to check out my other videos in the series. I've got a lot of great recipe recommendations that I think you'll like a lot. Go out and shoot some photos. Thanks for watching.